I'm going to try and set up this Dan Durston 2-person tent. I've heard some pretty cool things about it. The coolest thing is that it's a reasonable price and it's sort of around the kilo mark for a 2-person tent, which, you know, many of the 2-person tents that are at that weight are going to be hitting you like 500 US and things like that or more, and so it can get pretty ridiculous. And so this is a tent that I think, let me see, I haven't slept in it, but I think it would be a really good beginner tent because it's a great price, 200 US, so maybe about 300. My hiking poles are a bit too short for it, so it could be a bit of a dodgy pitch, but we'll give it a go. They do sell poles with it, which are pretty darn cheap for hiking poles. Basically what you got to do is get it in a nice rectangle shape, whack in the poles, and that's all there is to it. The joy of this is that you can pitch it in the pelting rain, and the concept is that the inner will stay nice and dry. So that's a pretty cool feature that I wouldn't mind. I'm thinking of doing the Bibbulmun track next year, and so I'm thinking of finding a new tent. The other tent that I'm sort of leaning towards is some of those crazy expensive ones. They're getting up around 500 US dollars. All right, let's give it a bash. So rectangle. I haven't got a huge space here. It's all about trying to get a rectangle at the start, but I've got to work out what the actual corners are to find my rectangles. There we go. Huge. All right, I hope I've got a decent rectangle. So that's the main piss fighting around with this tent. Once you've got your rectangle, then you just throw in your poles and you've got a tent, hopefully. So I think you can just stuff them down there's little vents here, but I'm thinking I'm going to go in through the tent zipper. Because it's a brand new tent, there's just like some of these little guidelines and stuff I need to pull out to the right position, so it's taking a little bit extra time. I think I'm going to go in there like that. Yep. Cool. That's pretty fun. Great. And the joy of this is you don't have to dick around with the tent putting one in, one out, because you've already pitched it. See how it's just sitting there like that, and I'm pretty impressed because it's actually lower than the recommended height, so far so good. So I'm just over at the other side, whacking in the other tent pole. Pretty good. So bam, that's pretty darn good. I do love that, being able to pitch it with the fly on the outside. Got a bit of adjustments here. I've only used 4 of the pegs. It says it needs 8, so I'll go around and put them all down and we'll have a look inside after. I showed you how I staked out those 4. I put one near the door and then one near this because we've got a fair bit of wind whipping through here. So I put out that guy line. I'm not sure I've got it perfectly set up according to what they want, but hey, I'm pretty happy with that pitch. It really is just get that rectangle right and then throw in your poles. Now, as I said, my poles were a little bit short, but I found a cool little way of fixing that. The perfect height, my beer cans. I don't know how strong they'll be once I drink the beer, but hey, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's have a look inside. Heaps of room in there. I'll set it up and show you what it looks like. The other thing people are raving about this tent is it's a whopper. It is huge for the size. You really don't get this much space in normal tents. The size of these vestibules, so I'm talking to you now from one of the vestibules where I've got my pack actually laying sideways, like long ways in the vestibule, which actually runs that way. So there's dual doors, so it's really good if you are sharing with someone. For me, I'm looking for something that's basically mostly just for me, for hiking, so a super lightweight for that, but then also when else joins me, it's nice to have a bit of extra space that we're not like right on top of each other with our packs outside when it's raining. There is so much room in this tent. I've got the camera right now sitting just outside my vestibule with sort of the flaps open, but it's really impressive actually. So this is the thing about this tent for me. The weight, it isn't amazing when you're looking at the super light, ultralight tents, but the joy is the size is massive. The price is incredible. Just the setup, I was pretty impressed. I feel very secure. I've got that sort of sea breeze gusting through and shaking the tent, but it feels super secure. I just got so lucky with my original tent. It weighs probably about 100 grams less than this one. So, and it is pretty much freestanding, so I can pitch it without having to have it all pegged out. So this side I've got here today is amazing because it's nice and grassy and soft ground and we can get the pegs in really well. Whereas my other tent I can pitch on sort of a rocky platform without having to worry about trying to peg these things down. Most of the strength does come from you getting that beautiful rectangle and pegging it well. Now this will be the real test. Empty can of beer, putting it under the tent stake. Let's see how we go. Hopefully it doesn't crush straight down. But even like this little section here is perfect for the hiking pole to sit into. It's pretty amazing. All right, let's see how we go. I think we're all right. Sweet. Maybe it's my spider phobia. I do love spiders, but I just don't really like them appearing on me suddenly. So I do like to actually have all my gear in the tent. I'm absolutely not sponsored to look at this tent. This is just a tent that my mate Margus lent me. Very generous of Margus. And Margus is from a trip you may remember back when we did the horseshoe bends on the Shoalhaven River, that epic hike. Starting to change my mind a little. Maybe I want to get something like this because it's just so palatial. Like I feel like I'm in a palace. I'll have to do the weights. I'll do the weights when I get home. I'll actually put this guy on the scale. The other thing with this guy is you need to have your pegs, so really you've got to add that to the pack weight, but from memory it's about just on a kilo, a little bit over. In here we've got, that's my air mattress, that's a thermarest. We've got a heap of space at the top and then a fair darn whack at the bottom as well. Lots of space for all my bits and bobs. So it is really good size for a single use, but also obviously, you know, another air pad could fit in here perfectly with a bit of space. And then you've got all this space here in the vestibules. So yeah, I'll give you a spin around. So it's catching a heap of wind there, but inside it feels really safe. Pretty happy with that. Man, we've been getting hammered by this wind and this little dude is just holding strong. I can't believe that pitch. That's seriously, that's the first time I've pitched it. Mucked around for a wee bit, but bango. I'm so happy with these little beer can little supports that I put on my trekking poles. So my hiking poles are too short for the Dan Durston tent, and that's one thing that actually stopped me from buying it, to be honest, because I was like, oh, then I have to buy new poles. Pretty, you know, I like these poles, why should I have to buy a new pair? But then, yeah, just whacked a beer can in there, and this is one I've finished, so it's empty, and it's really strong and good and lightweight, and multi-purpose. Oh, I'm actually really happy with the tent in general. It's just the amount of space feels so luxurious. Just not used to having that much space. Once again, I'm not sure about the weight. It's very light compared to some of the other tents, but compared to my tent and the gram counting that I do, so I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to get a tent like this, but it is pretty cool tent.